Hello, my name is Katrina, and today I wish to guide you through exporting contacts from Salesforce using the data loader. Now, for those of you who have not used the data loader before, you can access this through your standard Salesforce, through the setup menu, through data management. Now, if you don't see that option, it may be that you don't have permission and you may need to speak to your administrator. But the most up-to-date version is always available for download in that section and does not take very long to install. Once you have it installed, you should see a screen very similar to this. Now, you can perform inserts, which would obviously insert new records to Salesforce. You can perform updates, which would update your existing records. You can do something called an upsert, which combines the two and will insert records found as new and update records which are already existing. You can obviously do a delete or an export. Now, for those of you logging in for the first time, you should be aware that it will ask for your Salesforce username and password, but you must also combine your password with your security token. Simply put your password followed directly by your security token with no other characters or spaces, and you shouldn't have many problems. If you don't know what your security token is, however, you can access this again through the setup menu through my personal information, and you can reset this security token, which will go straight to your email. Okay, so once we are logged in this case I will be doing an export of contacts, so I click on export. The first screen here shows you which available objects there are to perform the actions on. So in this case I'm selecting my clients, which is referred to as an account because I have a person account addition, so it is still my contacts. It may just look a little different from yours if you don't have the person account set up. You choose where you'd like your file to go to. I would recommend, especially if you are doing a large number of extracts, that you consider a naming convention which will help you identify the files later on. Save that. Go to the next screen. Now this screen is where you choose which fields from the object you selected on the first screen you'd like to output or update if you're doing an update. In this case I'm going to set my ID, which is actually the account ID in my version here. You can use, for example, here I'm selecting P on my keyboard to go through all those fields that begin with P. It's quite helpful if you've got quite a lot of fields to try and find it more quickly. So I'm going to select my person ID. I'd always recommend outputting the IDs on any extracts you do. Even if you don't use them, it's always better to have them than not. I'm then going to go and find my name information, salutation, first name and last name. It might be worth noting, for those who don't know, that the salutation standard field in Salesforce actually refers to what is more commonly known, certainly to myself, as the title, i.e. Mr. and Mrs., whereas the standard title field in Salesforce is actually related to the job title, so just important to note that there. I'm then going to go down and find my address in here somewhere. Other mailing, there we are. So street, city, state, postcode and country. Again, just worth noting, through the data loader you can't actually export your address lines separately, i.e. you can't have address lines 1, 2, 3, etc. You have only the choice to output a mailing street block, which will simply combine your address lines and separate them with carriage returns. So I'm happy I've got all my address lines and my name. I am also going to output my email address, my deceased and my postal opt-out fields. You can see every time I clicked on a field it's automatically written it to the bottom here. You can then start adding any conditions or filters that you like. This list is the same as this, just alphabetically sorted, and you can just start typing the field names in the top here, which helps to find them. In my case, I'm going to select the last name, starts with, you can see the various operators you can use here, and I'm going to put sample in mine because I've set up particular records for this demo. You must click this add condition button to ensure that it puts it down here in the bottom. I'm then going to add my next step, which for me is to make sure that the person email is equal to blank, and by literally having no value in there at all, the system knows that that's a blank value. So person email equals blank, add condition. I'm doing that because in my sample scenario I will have been doing an e-shot for those that do have an email address and therefore don't want to include them. I then also want to include only those people with a postal opt-out of false, and of course only those people who have a deceased flag of false as well. Now, before you click on finish, I would suggest that you copy out the text in this bottom section here and paste it into a notepad and save that for later use. It's always good to keep a note of your criteria for future reference, just to make sure that if you need it, it's there. And also, if you take a while in this section, it will time out on you. And also, if you don't get the results quite as expected, rather than having to go back through and select each field again, at least you have this and you could just alter this. I'm going to click finish and proceed. And I have here 9 successful extracts. You can view extraction directly from here. Show you there. So you can see it's output all the fields as requested, and I only have false values down here and no email addresses. So it has obviously taken effect into those with my criteria. You can open an external program which will open in Excel for you for saving and changing things in there if that's what's needed, although always be wary about changing numbers in Excel, for example. Okay, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to close this, and then I'm just going to find my extracted file here just to show you the final outcome. And again, very similar to what you just saw. This is a CSV file, which means it's comma separated values, which looks identical to Excel when you view it in Excel. But the difference being is that if I open it with a notepad, you can see it simply does as it says, and each field is separated by a comma, which is very handy when you are exporting from databases. So I'm very happy with my export. Obviously you can continue to do as many exports and altering your exports as and when you wish. I hope that you found the exercise useful. Obviously if you have any issues at all, please do feel free to contact CCR with the details that should show following. Thank you very much for your time.